All right, guys, welcome to Chapter 17, a brand new chapter in biology. We are furthering our discussion on Kingdom Animalia, which is the best kingdom there is, and we're moving into a phylum called Arthropods. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Before we dive right in, I just want to let you guys know I am in the process of grading your tests on invertebrates, and I will most likely have those done by Wednesday, April 22nd. It's taking me a little bit more time to grade stuff online because it's just a lot to get through, so I'm working very hard on that for you guys. I wanted to give you all some important updates as far as biology goes. You will have a quiz on arthropods on April 27th, which is Monday, April 27th. Put it down on your calendar at 10 a.m. You will have a biology quiz on arthropods. We'll do it exactly the way that we did it for your tests, where you will call in for a Zoom call. You will take it on LMS. You also have a test that is going to be on May 5th, which is a Tuesday at 10 a.m. So that is going to include Chapter 17 and Chapter 18. So it's going to be arthropods and the next section, which is going to be amphibians, fish, reptile. So you're going to have a lot on the next test, but I promise I won't overload you with stuff. We're going to hit all of the highlights of these amazing phylums, and hopefully you guys will have a lot of fun studying for this test. So with that being said, for your quiz on April 27th and your test on May 5th, there will be no exceptions to the rule. If you do not show up for the scheduled test time and show up on Zoom and take it with me on Zoom, you will be getting a 0 from me unless you have a medical emergency or some type of emergency, which in that case I need to hear directly from your parent. Okay, so I know things happen in life and that's totally fine, but you have to be in communication with me, and if it requires you to miss a quiz or a test, I need to hear from your parent. And if I don't, I'm just going to put it in the grade book as a 0, and we're just going to have to move on. I don't like to sound harsh in that way, but it's really unfair to other classmates if you just don't show up to a test, but you still get to take it and you have extra time to study for it. So please, I'm all about fairness, and doing this online, it does get a little bit tricky, but it's in the class calendar. It shouldn't interfere with any of your other classes, so please manage your time wisely. You need to be taking notes on these lecture videos. I don't just make these lecture videos for my own amusement. I make them for you guys. I want them to be as helpful as possible, so please utilize the resources. Okay, with that being said, let's go ahead and get started with arthropods. I am so excited to start this next chapter. So you can follow along in your book. It's in Chapter 17 that we're getting started off with, and then we will move on to Chapter 18. And so your test on May 5th will be 17 and 18. So let's go ahead. Chapter 17, arthropods. So this little guy in the corner right here is Lucas the spider. Brian introduced him to me. He had a little bit of a welcome preview on the class board if y'all didn't see him earlier. But so he has a bunch of little shorts, little Pixar shorts, and he's adorable. And maybe it will give you a new appreciation for arthropods, because arthropods are probably the most hated creatures of all time. And so I'm hoping to change that in you. I don't expect any of you to become entomologists necessarily, which is somebody who studies bugs, but maybe you will develop a new appreciation for these little guys. All right, let's talk about arthropods. So the first thing is, I like to always try to connect our topic with something that's important and something that's relevant in everyday life. A lot of times teachers get the question, when am I ever going to use this? And I try my best to point you guys in the direction of when you might use this. So for most of you, you may not use the information in the future when it comes to arthropods, although you might be able to have some good trivia facts or whatever. But if you by chance happen to fall in love with these bugs and these arthropods, you might do something called forensic entomology. Forensic entomology solves murders using insects. And you do need to write this down. So this is one of the important jobs that has to do with bugs. Again, we all can fall in love with zoology and, fall in love with reptiles and fall in love with mammals and all of these different beautiful creatures, but it's really hard to fall in love with insects. But we actually can use them to solve murders, and we're going to discover that with arthropods, we can use a lot of them in order to help humanity. So they're pretty cool. So for example, the green bottle fly, and you see the Lucilia sericata, that's going to be its genus species name. Notice how it's uppercase species or genus and then lowercase species name, and it's written in italics. We talked about that. Sorry, I have Ireland here. So our green bottle fly these guys arrive minutes after death of a body, humans or animals, and it feeds on the body and it lays eggs in the body, which I know is kind of gross to think about. But we can actually use this to solve crimes because we can determine how old or how long a body has been dead for based on what kind of insects are inside of that body. Again, I know that sounds kind of morbid, but when we think of it that we're trying to find justice for somebody who has been murdered, or maybe not even murdered, maybe just somebody that we don't know what caused their death, we can look at insects and try to figure out how long they have been dead for. So forensic entomologists come onto the scene for some crime scene investigations, and they actually weigh in on this. And the green bottle fly is just one of the many bugs that is involved in the decomposition process of bodies. Oh. All right, moving right along. So we're going to talk about arthropods. What are arthropods? So phylum Arthropoda is the largest phylum in kingdom Animalia. So this is going to have a rich and very diverse group of animals. All of these guys are going to be invertebrates, which means they do not have a backbone. They have something else that characterizes them, but they do not have backbones. All right, so we have kingdom Animalia, and then it's going to break down into phylum Arthropoda. So we got Animalia, Arthropoda. And then down below, Arthropoda is going to divide into 3 major categories. Number 1 is chelicerates, 2 is crustaceans, and 3 is insects. If you look at this wheel, this is actually a kingdom Animalia wheel. You can see that a huge section takes up invertebrates. We just have a small section there for vertebrates or chordates in this case. But when you look at arthropods, they take up the majority of invertebrates, right? So what's crazy is that insects really are the ones that dominate the arthropods. So these guys are just such a huge group of diverse animals found in one phylum. Okay, so let's talk about what makes arthropods so special. So they have certain attributes that separate them into their own phylum. So there's a reason why they're not in the same phylum as mammals or fish or anything else, right? So a couple of things that are distinctive for arthropods is they have what's called an open circulatory system. So humans have a closed circulatory system, and what that means is that our circulatory system is separate from all the other systems in our bodies. So our digestive system and our lymphatic system, all of that is going to be separate. Those are separate pipes in the human body. With bugs, they have what's called an open circulatory system, which means that their blood is going to mix up with a bunch of other fluids in their body. So there's no need to keep all of their stuff separate. Arthropods have exoskeletons for support. So it's going to be this hard shell that covers them for support, and it's made out of something called chitin. And it's going to give them that nice crunchy feel when you step on them. That's terrible. I shouldn't say that. We don't want to step on like crustaceans and stuff, but some bugs like a cockroach, I don't really care about squishing their exoskeleton. They also do what's called molting. So a lot of animals do this, not just arthropods. Molting is just shedding. So birds do this. They molt their feathers. Bugs do this, and you'll see in the top right-hand corner, the bug that's on top, it looks like it's a cicada. That's the actual bug, and then below it is the skin or the exoskeleton that it just molted. They have what's called jointed appendages. So when you have a joint like this, and they actually have some of them have appendages that can actually go like 180 degrees. And they have compound eyes. So basically what that means is that their eyeballs, those little dots that you see, are all going to be thousands of lenses. So that way they can see at many different angles. So some of them can literally have eyes in the back of their head. Some of them have 2 compound eyes, others of them have more than 2. Just depends. All right, so let's continue talking about what makes arthropods so special. So they have segmented bodies. So that means that they have different sections of their bodies, and it's divided into 3 sections. So you have the head, the thorax, and the abdomen. Arthropods also have an interesting nervous system. They use what's called antenna, and that's going to be located in the head region. And basically what it does is it's a sensory appendage. So it's like when our arm touches the table, they use their antennas to feel around, to feel prey, whatever they need to do to feel a leaf or a log or whatever they're doing. They use it for sensory. Just like we would try to touch something with our hands, they're going to touch something with their antenna in order to sense certain things. All right, guys, I hope that you've developed a little bit of a love for arthropods if you haven't already. The next video is going to be on chelicerates, and then crustaceans, and then insects. So we're going to divide it into the 3 major categories of arthropods. So if you have any questions, please let me know. Be sure that you're taking really good notes because you will have a quiz on arthropods Monday, April 27th, and you will have a test on arthropods and the next chapter, chapter 18, May 5th. So please just be sure you're taking really good notes. But in the meantime, I will be grading your tests, and let me know if y'all need anything. Love y'all a lot.